I'm Kelly Carter, and this is Another Act.
I adore musicals. I love musicals. And so I used to get the director to be like, Keegan, stop tapping your foot. Remember, you hate it. Remember that you hate it, okay? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Keegan, you're humming.
Keegan, welcome to the show.
Kelly, what up, doe? How are you at ESPN now?
What up, doe? You know how we do it. Let me tell you, it is always a good day anytime I get to chat with my Detroit homeboy. Well, actually, my suburban Detroit homeboy, because remember, we're actually both from Southfield.
Again, as I must always tell people, born in Southfield, raised in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to go back to 2019 because that was the last time that you and I talked officially. And back then you told me, and I want to quote you here, that the ship was starting to turn a little bit. And that was really in reference to just how fantastic your career was going. Tell me about your career strategy. What were you looking for, and how do we get from there to the now?
So I would say part of it was, I guess, you know, there was a very particular turn I was looking to make at that time, which was to go into more dramatic work and action work, like action movies. I think, and I probably spoke to that at the time. Right before that, I had made The Predator. And so I was moving in that direction. But then when the pandemic hit, I started to work on this podcast with my wife, with my writing partner and wife. And so we worked on that through the pandemic. And that came through. And then all of a sudden, this Schmigadoon project came out of nowhere. Well, actually, before Schmigadoon, then also there had been some musical work before that. So I'd done Jingle Jangle and sang at Jangle Jangle. And then I did The Prom. So all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I haven't done musicals since I was at Royal Oak Shrine, and or since I was at the University of Detroit. And all of a sudden, the ship started turning, but in a different way than I had necessarily expected it to. Schmigadoon started to happen, and that was when I really said, okay, I guess I've really made this turn into doing more musicals, I should say, filmed musicals. And then that was not quite the turn I thought it was going to be. But as you know the old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So and then they'll make sure that you're doing something different. And then since then, I've been still kind of in the comedy world, but there's been a lot of dramatic work that I've been able to do in the confines of this particular project. And then even more voiceover has come down the pipe. And it's really been a wonderful journey.
Gosh, it is so exciting watching your career go to all the heights that it's gone to. And this is something that I don't think that we've ever talked about on record before, but it was challenging for me to watch Schmigadoon and not think about where you were in your career when you and I first met. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh your memory.
Okay.
You're about to die laughing probably because you were not acting, you were directing. And I think it was a black version of Tony and Tina's Wedding.
Yes, it was called.
In Detroit.
Yes,
but,
yes,
you know, I'm curious about what those early lessons, you know, what you were doing back then, the stage work that you're performing back in Detroit or even maybe in Second City, Chicago, that you still carry with you right now in your career.
I think that I still employ the improvisational skill set as much as I possibly can. Because what improvisation is really just instantaneous screenwriting or instantaneous playwriting. And so that is something that's helpful on a set if you're rewriting in the moment. And literally yesterday I was working on a voiceover, and in the midst of doing the voiceovers for this project, me and the director were both going, I don't know about this line. Can we change this? What if we changed it to this? Or the director will say, do you have an idea about what we could do here? And I go, maybe this? And you have to have that fearlessness. You start to cultivate that fearlessness when you start improvising, because you don't have an option. The option is that you speak right now, at this moment, in the now, and then when you can bring that to another art form like voiceover or animation or acting. So even in Schmigadoon, really what you're doing is the scenes that are taking place between the musical numbers. You can look at those scenes like sketches that have beginnings, middles, and ends. and are usually only anywhere between 3 to 5 pages long, like a sketch would be on Key and Peele or Saturday Night Live. So that was really, for me, the big takeaway from improvisation that has stayed with me ever since then. So that's the skill set that I've kept intact all this time, since 97 when I started at the Second City in Detroit.
Man, I love that. I also was thinking about this as you were talking. I feel like what's really been key in your career, and that was absolutely no pun intended, is this idea of collaboration for you.
I'm not even sure what it is exactly, but I just have to say, for me, collaboration is the number one thing. I want to always be part of either a collective or a team that's working toward a common goal. And I'm not even sure where I got that from or where I started thinking that way, but it probably was Second City, because you are only as strong as the people around you. Your job is to make everybody else look better. Your job is to set everybody else up for the joke. And so once I started to learn that ethos, I think it stuck with me. And now I feel that way about everything I do. I want to be part of the team and see what I can do to help the team, as opposed to be an individual who's just working against a team. Because if you're only out for yourself, you're not only out for yourself, you're also working against the others. And I want to be working with and for the others. And so that's something that's been part of kind of my mindset for a good 2 decades now. And it's always fun. To me, it's more fun to do something in couples or in 3s or in 6s or in 12s or in 20s, so that you're sharing your experience with others.
Yeah, tell me about how Schmigadoon aligns with that kind of philosophy that you have for your own career. What made this a right project for you to say, yes, this is something that, even though it's not drama, I want to go ahead and do this series?
I think that some of it is, some of the things that's made me want to do it are the themes of the show. The themes, and also there's a high, what some people would call a high concept reality about it. So it's this, these 2 people have to go visit a magical place, and then when they realize they're there, that they can't get out of that place. That's a very easy, high concept that I think everybody can understand. And I'm attracted to those kind of projects. And I think in regard to the collaboration you were just discussing, the biggest thing is this show is like an anthology. And that's the thing I love, is that you have the exact same cast playing different characters each season, like American Horror Story. And that is what really appealed to me, because talk about being on a team. I mean, it's one thing to have a team that's installing a new defense, okay, in football. It's another thing to have a team of people play football, and then the next day, the same team of people play basketball. That's what was fascinating to me. And then the next year after that, the same team of people playing baseball. And that's really what was happening here. And that's why I'm so attracted to it, is because that is the essence of teamwork, if nothing else. It's all hands on deck. Everybody's got to play their role. Their role changes every time. There's no time for complacency. It's really great.
No, it is. Honestly, it's probably one of the most brilliantly conceptualized series that I've seen in a really long time. But, talk about building him, because I really love this character for you.
Building him was a real fun challenge, because I adore musicals. I love musicals. And so I used to get the director to be like, Keegan, stop tapping your foot. Remember, you hate it. Remember that you hate it, okay? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Keegan, you're humming. You're humming the song. I'm just like, I'm sorry. So, but the biggest thing for Josh was, it was actually helping create him, was hanging on to that thing that you just said, which is, yeah, but people don't burst into song in real life. Why would anybody do that? Why would I go watch a show where people just start singing in the middle? I mean, I know what a play is, but why would someone just be in a play and then just start singing for no reason? So I had to hang on to that thought, even though I understand that people almost do it every day. When you get excited at a football game and you roar or scream, it's as if you're bursting into song. So I have that figured out in my mind. I had to take it out, jettison it, put it in a shoebox, set it up on the shelf, and lock it in the closet for 3 months while I made the show. And which makes the second season much easier, because in the second season, when he goes to Schmicago, he knows, he understands completely what he's doing now. He understands the rules of this place. He understands how musicals work. He doesn't know where he is, but at least he understands the rules. And so he can throw himself into the reality of this magical place. So, but trying to create him was such a fun challenge because you had to keep that, you just have to play logic police all the time and go, well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. That's it. What, oh, we're gonna start singing now? What, I don't even know why. He doesn't even understand the part where if you get so emotional that you're talking, you get so emotional you can't talk anymore, you sing. And if you get so emotional singing, you can't sing anymore, you dance. And then he has a line in the show where he goes, is there ever a time where you just loops right back around to talking again? Because I think that's where I'm at. and so that's almost his way of seeing the world, is that he's like, none of this makes any sense to me. I don't know what the rules are and I don't care. And then of course, by the end of the first season, he does care.
You know, and because we had that conversation in 2019, I knew that you wanted to do something that was a bit of a further cry from where you were probably most comfortable seeing you work in and where we were comfortable seeing you work in. And I'm glad that you said yes to this project because I think it's perfectly cast. And I think that you're perfectly cast as Josh. Was that hard for you to say yes to doing this series? Because this wasn't what you were looking for.
Yeah, I wouldn't say hard. I'd say, again, it's the challenge that I've wanted. Is that what attracted me to it is that it's so different. It's that it's so different than anything else I've ever done, which has always been my dream as a performer, is to be able to do different, varied pieces of art and look at each one of them as their own particular blessing. And this one was, I love, what I do love is I get to be in a narrative that, I mean, it's one thing to do a movie. Listen, I went from short form for 12 straight years, just doing short form improvisational comedy, to making movies, which are 2 hours of material, whether there be a comedy or a drama. And then Schmigadoon is ostensibly a 6-hour movie. You know what I mean? So you get to do a 6-hour movie. It's really fantastic because then you get to explore a narrative for longer than you ever would in any other form of entertainment. And so that was part of the allure to wanting to do it.
Okay, and what you and I have here is a little unique to me because I literally met you when you were actually in the beginning of your career. So where were you in your career when you knew that you were, you know, on the right path?
I think that most people do find a moment in their career, and for me, that would have been probably at Second City in Chicago, when I was in Chicago. Because I think in Detroit, I was still finding my footing. I was learning a lot. I just took the time to immerse myself completely into the world of improvisation. And then when I got to Chicago, I was doing the same thing, but I had felt like I had arrived somewhere where I felt not so much comfortable, but I felt like the challenges that kept coming were helping me grow and helping cultivate me as a person. And it was really, 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 everything I felt like I was doing was substantive. You know what I mean? And I didn't, part of me felt like I could have stayed there forever. And then eventually it got to a point where I knew, after I had been there for I'd been doing Second City for 6 years. And right in that last half a year, so I did Second City between Detroit and Chicago for 6.5 years. Right at the end there, I knew it was time to move to something else. I didn't know what it was yet. I just knew it was time to move to something else. And then the universe provided something. So, but I knew then I had the facility to do something, that something would move forward. I felt like this is working, or I'm in the right place. I have found the right vocation. And that was, it's something that's always dear to my heart about Chicago, is that was the place where I kind of felt like, okay, all right, I've been doing this for such a long time. I went to school for this, but this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing for my life, for my life's work.
No, I love that. And what a great stage. A lot of really phenomenal careers were launched on that stage in Chicago. What does this feel like for you now as you take stock of your career?
It feels, it feels good. It feels good. It feels like now I am at a place again in my life where I'm going, okay, now what's the next step? What's the next step? and what can I look forward to achieving or tackling, or what's the next challenge? And that also can be a little scary, but it also feels good too, to go, there's more. There's more to do. I'm still at the beginning. Like you said, you meet somebody, they're at the beginning. I feel like I'm still at the beginning, which is good. No,
that's really good. So what's next?
I don't know. And you know what, Kelly? I'm okay not knowing. That's what's good about what, I'm doing press right now for projects that have happened, and I've got press throughout the year for projects that have happened, but I've been in this nice place right now where I'm not doing anything in particular at the moment. And it's nice for me to be able to sit back, kind of recalibrate and say, where do I want to go to next? What do I want to do next? And it's a nice place to be.
It's a great place to be. Look, I know you feel the love, especially from our hometown, because every time you get on another series or another one of these roles or a headline, all of Detroit is cheering you on and rooting for you. So continued success, Keegan.
Thank you, Kelly. It's so good to see you. It's always good to see you.